What is there to say about Pokémon? Game Freak is the only company to actually control C and control V in every single game they've ever released. And even still, they are the most profitable franchise in the world, bigger than Disney, Nike, Google. But how the fuck did this become such a powerhouse in the gaming industry? These are so fucking easy to market, dude. It's so easy to just eat this shit up, and I know because I'm a fucking sheep. And just keep in mind, while I roast Pokemon for about half a millennia, that it is coming from the perspective of a real fan of the series, and not someone just trying to rattle the fucking monkey cage for fun. But these people keep buying it, they keep supporting it, and I can't let this go on anymore. I can't keep watching my friends, my family, innocent bystanders, adults and kids just looking to have fun with a new game get sucked into this abhorrent abyss. So you know what? Pokemon is a poverty franchise. If you happen to be someone who doesn't watch sports, or rather keep up with sports culture, let me give you the rundown. And stick with me here, I know you don't want to hear about sports, but this will make sense, I promise. A poverty franchise, as described by Urban Dictionary, which I believe to be the most accurate source of information, is when a sports franchise team performs poorly on a habitual basis. They rack up losing records, wasting young talent and draft picks. So, for example, my favorite sports team is the New York Football Giants, which is quite possibly the most embarrassing statement I can make publicly right now. But the Giants, since 2013, have had the 4th worst record in the NFL. The Giants are a poverty franchise because they perform poorly on a habitual basis. But back when I was a kid, the Giants were always pretty good, or at least the scrappy underdogs. So when something is a poverty franchise, it doesn't mean it was never good. It just means that it has spent a long time being not good. Back when Pokemon was a diaper baby, I can't use that line. It was one of the simplest games you could think of. It's a game with monsters you can catch and then forced to participate in large rat-style gladiatorial combat on the go. It is quite literally in the name Pocket Monsters. There were no sword fights, platforming, there was no intense action. It was a game so simple, you had to take your turn to fight. Aww. Essentially, you're a 10-year-old with no discernible skills other than the fact that you can hum a magic baseball at a rat and then teach it to scratch other rats. And that's the fucking brilliance of it. It's simplicity. It's not so complicated that a kid wouldn't pick up a Game Boy and go, oh, that's a rat, that's a bird. Oh, there's another rat. Boom. That's a snake, easy. But then they bake a second loaf of Pokemon, and it's good, but it's just the same loaf of bread. And then they bake a third loaf of Pokemon, and it's good, but it's still the same loaf of bread. And then they bake a 4th loaf of Pokemon, and it's good, but it's that same loaf of fucking bread. And at this point, there's so much fucking bread in the store that it's getting stale. And now the rats are starting to eat the bread and turn into new rats, but now they're stale and look like they were designed by my cousin, who was a fucking child, by the way. And now I'm getting sick because I'm eating the stale rat bread and I can't fucking take it anymore. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Well, Kyler, I'm a huge Pokemaniac, and for me, the bread may have been a little stale, but it was still quality bread. So why are you harping on this point so hard? Well, Poindexter, at some point, the bread skipped stale and went straight to mold-infested, so now the question is not how, but rather when. Well, I think the answer is staring us very obviously in the face here, but I don't even think that X and Y, or even Sun and Moon, hold a candle to how bad Sword and Shield was. X and Y and Sun and Moon had their flaws, and by golly, they had those fucking flaws in abundance. X and Y had a super weak plot, the characters were annoying, the game was fucking baby mode easy, and to top it all off, you play in one of the worst places known to man. But it also had a few things to look at positively. One thing the series never fails at is making new Pokemon, and this game definitely follows that rule. The Pokemon here are pretty fun and have a lot of memorable fan favorites like Greninja, who would later go on and get put in Super Smash Bros. Plus, it's hard to deny the incredibly raw energy of Mega Evolutions, which were super sick, even if it was limited to only a select few Pokemon. And I think, minus the France shit, that Sun and Moon had pretty much all the same issues, and you know what? I even very much appreciated that they did away with the moldy-ass gyms and switched them to island trials, which marginally challenged the gym concept, but challenged it enough to where the bread was a little bit fresher. But the decline in quality wasn't super drastic, it was more like the bunny hill at the ski resort. It was nothing compared to El Kid. I still remember the reveal trailer for this game. I vividly remember watching it and going, what the fuck is this, and why is it so fucking bland? Pokemon said, hey, you know how much you love France? Get ready for the next best thing.
Oh, Jesus Christ, will you fucking shut up? Nobody gives a shit! Am I right? I'm not wrong. This is fucking dog shit. Yeah, you keep going, no one cares. I can't.
This trailer did not make me excited about this entry. In fact, this trailer gave me tonsillitis. How did you make a game that was somehow uglier than the actual UK? This game looked like it was made in an easy bake oven, and the kid baking it was also off of that goose. This game was so ugly that people were arguing over the fucking trees by Rush. And obviously that's gonna happen. The trees by Rush are fucking disgusting, and I mean, look at this shit. Sword and Shield should have been great, you know? This was the first mainline Pokemon game on a home console. You've got big shoes to fill. This is a very high-selling console, and a console that is more powerful than the 3DS. So in game theory, we should be getting a massively upgraded version of Pokemon, right? Fuck no! Did you really think that Game Freak of all companies would do something right? Nah. Pokemon reclined. The company actually hit us with a Jigglypuff rest. There is no excuse for a game of this quality unless you are cutting every corner imaginable. And for all you cope addicts watching this, obviously graphics are not the most important quality of a game. I like lots of games that look like absolute nonsense, but usually those games will pull through in a different way. Sword and Shield is not only ugly, but it is an absolute fuckfest of a game to play. And guess what, fucko? I not only put over 200 hours into this piece of ass, I completed the fucking Pokédex, which is something I have never done. So when I tell you it's bad, there's my fucking resume. But you know what? I'll do you one better. I will get right into the details. See, the thing is, I don't even care about all the Dexit shit. But if we're talking main issues, I think the story is probably the biggest offender. What a fucking worthless story this is, even for Pokemon, a series that genuinely has really boring stories. Sword and Shield's story was worse by an entire New York City marathon than any of these games. For real, it was such a fucking drag. It was so predictable. The characters were more boring than dishwater, and the stupid spiky-haired kept stopping me to fight him, even though I kicked his ass so bad, he gave up on his aspirations. It's hard to take these games seriously when these bosses, who should be a challenge, stand absolutely no chance to you. The only adversity you face in this game is the misfortune of having to look at the outdated environments for GameCube standards. Seriously, everything in this game is ugly. These graphics look like old porridge, and the art direction is so boring and uninspired. The draw distance is laughable, and you constantly get shit popping in and out of your screen. Look at the bad guys in this game. Just look at them. Is this stomach churning to you? No? Okay, let me make it worse really quick. Their gimmick is they are stands for the character Marnie. This is a plot point in the video game. Oh, by the way, look at this double kick animation. Okay, that should tell you everything you need to know about the quality of the animations in this game. The only area of light praise I can give this game is the wild area being the breath of fresh air that fans have been waiting for. And even the wild area is absolute filth in its own special ways. Starting with the fact that there's only one, and it is mostly fucking empty. Although they do semi-rectify this by adding 2 more also empty wild areas in the game as part of their paid DLC pack, which, by the way, while we're talking money here, this bread has skipped stale and went straight to nuclear mold, and they sold this nuclear mold for $60 fucking dollars. You know what else was $60 in 2019? This.
What the?
And also this. And fuck it, even this.
First, the slam. While trapping a ghost, slam it on the ground to inflict some damage. It helps to get other ghosts in on the action.
Yeah, this game was a scam. Pokémon has more money than all of those studios, and we get this? All of the fans who worked hard to buy the game, all the fans who gave up hours of their time to play, all the fans who supported your company, and this is your fucking answer to all of that. How am I not supposed to be upset about all this? I worked hours at my fucking fugly-ass Target retail job. I saved my money. I went to the fucking midnight release. I put over 200 fucking hours into the game, and this is what I get? But maybe there's a silver lining. Yes, this game is bad, but it can't get worse, can it? With every disappointing Pokemon release, there is always an extremely dedicated group of weirdos who defend the game like they get paid to do it. This is to be expected, of course. There will always be a group of fans who defend their favorite properties no matter how bad it may be. But some things transcend this phenomenon. Some games are so fucking atrociously lousy that even the hardest core fans will go, yeah, this game is some fucking balls. Pokemon Gen 4 is arguably the best in the series. Not only were the Gen 2 remakes done to absolute perfection, but Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were also done incredibly well and are huge fan favorites. Furthermore, these games are very easily accessible via emulation. I am not saying this is something you should go do, but I'm simply saying it's very easy and all you need is a VPN and a computer capable of doing it. But don't do it. That should cover me legally, right? So when you have properties as beloved as these, you really need to get these remakes correct or else the fans are gonna have you in the fucking guillotine. Nostalgia is a real bitch, you know, and Game Freak knows this. They weren't gonna try with this game even if they had to. If you were gonna go with any art style, why was this the one? I do understand the dedication to the source material, but you thought this was good? Omega Ruby and Alpha You know what? Fuck it. Fucking Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu even changed the art style to better fit the 3D landscape. These games weren't exactly amazing, but at least they were competently made and didn't look like Tom getting a fucking piano dropped on him. But, as we've previously mentioned, graphics don't always make or break the game, so let's instead talk about not what they've added to the game, but what they removed from the source material. All Platinum content, secret-based customization, the Game Corner, 2 out of 3 of the contest minigames, numerous online feature like the Wi-Fi Plaza and Wi-Fi Club, GBA insert Pokemon encounters, rank battles, and they didn't even add any new battle modes. This game didn't get any new content like every other Pokemon remake. They just removed shit and made it worse. They even kept in the stupid-ass affection system that just allows your Pokemon to dodge attacks or crit the other Pokemon or survive moves that would normally just kill them. Of course, you can't have a Pokemon game without poor optimization and random crashes too. And after all of this fucking madness, they charged $60 for this dog water, which is more expensive than the fucking originals were. The originals were $40, had more content, and were more fun. This was the most blatant cash grab I think the gaming industry has ever witnessed. Like, do we have any silver linings after this one? Well, really the only positive of this game was the fact that this was merely a remake, albeit an incredibly important remake, but we still have the next generation of Pokemon. Maybe they could finally fix all their mistakes. Maybe they can hear the fans now. We were all incredibly vocal about our disdain for this entry, but unfortunately, money fucking talks. The reveal trailer for Scarlet and Violet was a short cinematic with a reveal of the 3 new starters. You had this uninspired duck, you had this apple crocodile thing, and then you had a cat shaped like a marijuana leaf. Up until the release of the games, we got the usual trailer and marketing barrage that at this point I was incredibly distrustful of. You can't trust any trailer this company makes just due to the fact that we've been lied to so many times previously. I went to the midnight release with a big group of friends as we always do, picked up the game, and raced home to see what we were getting into this go around. Little did I know this would be the straw that broke the Numel's back. There are tons of glaring issues in every single facet of this game. I genuinely don't think Scarlet and Violet do a singular thing right. The world you're exploring is so blatantly broken. There are all the same issues we're used to by now, but it has been cranked to 11. The world's assets are super jagged and rough cut. It looks like they just forgot to turn on the anti-aliasing feature during development, so every mountain looks sharp enough to cut me in half. When you battle, sometimes you get this cool little feature where it shows you the center of the earth, which completely undermines that movie with Brendan Fraser and Josh Hutcherson. Lighting and shadows are almost a danger to people with epilepsy with how much they try to fucking give me seizures whenever I'm in a battle. The draw distance is about 3 nanometers and shit just constantly flickers in and out of frame. And I'm not just talking about people in Pokemon, even the fucking environments pop in and out. The performance in this game pairs with the revolting visuals like a nice 2018 Penfolds Grange and a wheel of aged Gruyere. Frame rates are a joke. I understand we are on the mostly underperforming Nintendo Switch, but I feel like 30 frames should absolutely be the standard. And in these games, we are barely hitting 15, not to mention the infinite amount of bugs and glitches that crash the game regularly. The performance was so egregiously dire that gamers recommended turning your game off and on again because there's actually a data leak in the game. Which is true! There's a data leak that slows the game down the longer you play without closing and reopening the game. And don't even think about trying the multiplayer unless you want to have twice the amount of glitches. You know what a big open world game that runs for hours with no leaks or huge game-breaking glitches? And that game is 5 times the scope and size of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Okay, Kyler, the game performs badly. Skyrim is an open world game that hardly functions, and that game is beloved. What makes Scarlet and Violet so shitty? Oh, sit down, my little Pookie Bears. I am just getting warmed up. Pokemon has never been known to innovate in their gameplay, but the transition into an open world experience makes sense. It's just the natural evolution of the series. This is usually fine if the open world doesn't suck complete ass, but the open world in Scarlet Violet sucks complete ass. These towns are so fucking bland, and they do not create a lasting impression. I played this game for several hours, and I couldn't name a single town. I could rip off so many from the older games because they were each memorable in their own ways. These ones are all the exact same because none of them do anything interesting. It's just the same old, yeah, this is the snow town. Ooh, the big city. Small starting town. Ooh, here's the hot deserty town. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't help when you've got these towns that have no discernible qualities, no interesting characters, no interesting designs, no shops you can go into, just a bunch of fucking menus. There's no defense for this at all, dude. Forget the old games. At least Sword and Shield had a few towns that were a little cool, like the Fairy Town. At least it had a cool vibe, and I fucking hate this game, and you all know that because I spent an entire fucking chapter complaining about it. The fact that your reward for traveling a great distance to conquer the gym is this trash, that is so fucked up. From the moment this game starts, they stress that this is a completely open adventure, much like Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, yada yada, but I think this game flounders that as well. If you want me to explore your world, why do you punish me for going anywhere other than where you want me to go? There's no level scaling, so gym trainers and wild Pokemon don't scale to the level of the Pokemon in your party. This means that if you get curious and venture off into unknown territory, you're at risk of getting jumped by Pokemon that could be much higher level. Same with gyms and trainers. So I don't have the freedom to go wherever I want. Technically I can, but I'm just gonna die, so why would I ever veer off? This game completely discourages you from exploring, which should be the main focus of the gameplay. You spend so much time hyping up this free world, but ultimately it ends up going back to the same old fucking fixed route bullshit. What about the battles? Nope, no innovation going on in these games. I guess there is innovation if your idea of innovation is giving your Pokemon crystal hats that give them a third type. Yep, that's the gimmick this gen. It's called terastallization. This gives your Pokemon a third typing, which finally allows Sudowoodo to be a grass type. But honestly, I think this gimmick is lame as hell. Maybe it's just a preference of mine, but I thought Mega Evolutions were way cooler than terastallization. The other gimmick is sandwiches, and this is pretty similar to the Curry and Sword and Shield. They do give you different effects. Oh, by the way, look at this sandwich eating animation. It's not important to my point, but it just makes me laugh. The story is pretty rudimentary as Pokemon typically is, and it's made worse by the lack of voice acting, which fans have been begging for years. I was bored from beginning to end, and there's no excuse for this. I honestly would have even been fine if Chris Pratt was every single character. How are you gonna have an entire gym battle with a rapping gimmick and make me read the raps in a dialogue box? To keep it completely real though, voice acting could not save this plot, and take your fingers off that fucking keyboard. You cannot convince me that this is a good story. It is so lame, so predictable, and so forgettable. And to go along with that lame story, you've got these boring ass gyms that don't challenge the idea of gyms at all. They're just the same gyms as Sword and Shield. Like they even fucking copied the gym theme from that game. And maybe they start trying a bit at the end of the game, but that doesn't make up for the entire 3/4 of the game that you have to trudge through to get there. It's so fucking frustrating to see them release games like this, man. They have so much money, more than any of these games, and they still can't get it right. It makes you wonder if Game Freak themselves even cares about the series they created, or if they're just truly a money-hungry corporation that is taking advantage of the fans that give them money every year. Is Pokemon really hopeless? Can we ever expect another solid Pokemon experience? I have waited 12 pages, and a long chunk of time to actually talk about this video game, but I think it's finally time. The lead up to this game was something I don't think we've had from Pokemon in years. The air of mystery around this game was infectious. Wait, hold the fucking Arceus phone. You mean to tell me there's a dodge roll? Yo, you can catch Pokemon in the overworld? Oh, that Pokemon looks so cool, it's like wood and shit. Wait, you are directly fighting a boss? Whoa. Slow down, Kyler from 2 years ago. Let's take this one step at a time. I was so incredibly excited for this game, you have no idea. This was the game fans have been waiting for since Red and Blue came out. It's so easy to compare Legends Arceus to Shitlit and Vagisil. I can't say that, can I? It's so easy to compare Legends Arceus to Scarlet and Violet due to a myriad of reasons, but the main ones are Legends came out before Scarlet and Violet, and they are also built on very similar pillars of gameplay. What are these pillars of gameplay? Well, it's all the pillars I spent explaining in Chapter 4 of this video. This game emphasizes the tremendous importance of exploration, new battling gimmicks, and the gyms per se. There's no open world, but rather open zones, which fixes the level scaling problem that Scarlet and Violet have. The world in Legends Arceus doesn't have the prettiest environments in the world. This ain't no work of Smeargle here. This is a bit rough, but it's not exactly horrible. It's serviceable enough to where it's not distracting you from the gameplay. Basically, what I'm getting at here is this game looks fine. Nothing more, nothing less. The story does leave a lot to be desired, which is what we can expect from these games now. Moreover, the game takes roughly 9 centuries to actually begin. You spend the first part of this game destroying the A button trying to skip through the story, but once the restraints are removed, you get to experience the gameplay. And that's truly where this game shines the most, is its gameplay. Catching Pokemon in the overworld provides such immediate gratification. They give you a few extra traveling options so that exploring is easier, like climbing walls, running really fast, and flying. Running around the world throwing heat-seeking missiles at these Pokemon is possibly the most fun I've ever had with a Pokemon game. And this directly ties into why this game is so satisfying to play. In this game, you don't spend 12 hours in battle. It completely respects the player's time. Let me show you how fast it is to catch a Pokemon in Legends Arceus. Alright, now this is how fast it is in Scarlet and Violet. Notice how most of you now have comically long and gray beards from waiting that long. Even the battles are quick and decisive. The battles take a very short amount of time, and the game even gives you resources to make the battles go even faster with strong style and agile style attacks. Both of these doing pretty much what you'd expect. Strong style attacks are stronger but lower your action speed, and agile style attacks raise your speed but decrease the power of the move. These resources are simple. They aren't brain science or rocket surgery, but they don't need to be overly complicated like adding a third fucking typing. You want to sacrifice some power but move faster? Boom, go ahead. Hey, you want to gamble the OHKO on this Pokemon? The floor is yours. The boss battles, or nobles, provide possibly the most interesting shakeup in the gameplay formula. Long gone are the days of battling some random gym leader. Now we are playing Dark Souls. Now, it's directly you versus the Pokemon. In order to defeat them, you have to throw these bags of magic at the bosses and dodge all of their telegraphed attacks. There are a few points during the fight where you are given the option to throw in one of your own Pokemon to battle with, but as I said, this is totally optional. Personally, I found it more fun to do it the Dark Souls way, and honestly, I think it may have even been faster that way. And these bosses aren't exactly easy either. Some of them gave me a lot of trouble, like the Epilogue battle, which I kind of appreciated. Even Volo's battle was kind of difficult due to the fact that this motherfucker cheated with 8 Pokemon, 2 of them being Giratina. This game was praised from the minute it was released for drastically shaking up the formula we're all used to. Because of this reception, it was easy to presume that Scarlet and Violet may have had some of these features, but they just didn't. You can't catch Pokemon in the overworld in Scarlet and Violet. You can't release Pokemon multiple at a time. Terrain traversal is more annoying. The game takes forever for everything to happen. And you know what? Even the lack of crafting is a shame. And let's not forget, Legends came out before Scarlet and Violet. What the fuck? Game Freak, what the fuck is wrong with you? How do you continuously fuck everything up? I wholeheartedly do not get it! I need to make a few things clear now that the red mist has cleared from my fucking head. To tie this whole video back to my original thesis, yeah, Pokemon is a poverty franchise. It's been made abundantly clear to me that Game Freak has just stopped caring. And when I say Game Freak, I mean the terrible corpos who push this shit out every year without truly making sure that the consumers are getting quality games. I am not talking about the devs who unfortunately got roped into this comedy of dog shit. But what did I say at the very beginning of this video? So when something is a poverty franchise, it doesn't mean it was never good. It just means that it has spent a long time being not good. I think Pokemon does have hope, even if it's just the thinnest sliver ever perceived. And something I also want to make clear is that if you enjoy these games, I fully encourage you to continue enjoying them. This is just the opinion of some random dude on the internet, and you should not allow this opinion to sway your personal opinion of the game. That's kind of the beauty of Pokemon, right? It kind of transcends all generations, and every fan has a different favorite game. If that game for you is BDSP or Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield, then I say, hey, we may not agree, but I'm glad that a video game has brought you joy in the same way that a game like Heart Gold brought me joy. Let's all instead come together and pray for a 2025 release of Pokemon Legends Rayquaza.